Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. We're going to take about 30 minutes of your life to deliver some amazing content from accomplished leaders, business owners, to provide you some great Ironman mindsets to help you scale your business, to become a better leader and push yourself out of a comfort zone into something that's going to stretch you. We hope you really enjoy these shows and encourage you to like and share with your friends, your network, family members. Try and get a wider audience and improve our industry. On each show, I'm going to try and pull out one type of Ironman mindset, insight that you can take back to your business. And if you're implementing one insight every single week or all the shows, then it's going to make a dramatic improvement to your business. Super excited as well to share that we're partnering up with Boss Business Management Software, which is the ultimate cloud-based solution providing comprehensive insights and tools to optimize performance. Join the Boss community today and transform your business so you too can say, my boss is working for me. Cheers, everyone. Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast, joined by a good friend, Zech Strauser. Zech, really good to see you again.
Likewise, Robert.
So, Zech, I'm jealous of your barn in the background. I've got a little bit of a barn in my new place, but certainly not as nice as yours. You've got your tractor there, your truck. It's impressive.
It's insulation on the way, power. Well, we have power, but doing all the roughing. That's next, heat and all that, garage doors. It's a painful experience, but on the other side, I hope to have a great, I call it my horticulture, agriculture, and an entrepreneurial building that I can think and have meetings and
awesome.
Leave right out of a meeting and go right into my garden, or jump in the truck and drive down the highway to whatever. So, yep.
Can't get any better than that. So for the audience that don't know you, Zech, tell us a little bit about your background.
Background on a professional level is, predominantly, I'm in my later 40s, we'll call it. And most of my working career has been in landscape. Most of that landscape contracting was in commercial landscape space in Eastern Pennsylvania. Kind of, I always call it the underdog story, from the ground up, lower education background, more of a just built in some work ethic based off probably dire needs of making money at a young age because no one was handing it to me. So I got working, probably through not the most inspiring. I probably just had to grudge through it and then started to build the entrepreneurial muscles, because when you lose enough, you end up winning somehow. And then once you start winning, you win more. So on a personal level, married with a beautiful daughter, approaching 5 years old, and kind of hang around a beautiful old farm property that I intend to have as more of a communal, shareable space that is used for events and or conservation, some skiing and some biking and some hiking. Okay, I guess that word buzzword outdoorsy fits my category. So that's my quick background.
I can't believe your daughter's 5. I mean, I just remember her being born, and it's amazing how quickly that time goes.
It's really she just went to art camp this morning, and it's really the other, right? It made work and made so many things. My wife was a flight attendant and flew all over the world with private corporations, and I worked and grew a business, and I wouldn't know what country she was in, and she didn't know what meeting I had, and we had our dog walker and cleaning lady, and I don't even know how food used to get in the fridge. I don't really know. We just worked and put our head down for 10, 15 years, and then she said, I think it's time we should. And 30 days later, she was pregnant, and 8 or 9 months, whatever it is, months later, we had a beautiful daughter, and it all worked out. I think I would put it off for most of my life because it was like a very nerve-wracking thing that I felt like I couldn't control. Like I was like, are they going to be healthy? Everyone tries to plan it so tight. I don't understand how you plan such a thing. So I would really control what I could, which was work. And, if there was something out of place at the office, I could. So it was really, I was in a controlling space. And when I let go and I guess not like reluctantly agreed, but agreed to go for it. On the other side, most amazing experience of my life yet. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a huge event in your life. And I think, the other event that's happened for you recently, I don't know if you want to go into some details about that. Your other big event that has happened recently.
Yeah, the I call it a couple-year quest. A lot of my career quest, as I talk to more of my friends through doing a partnership sell to Schill Grounds Management out of Ohio last fall was when we ended up closing. I think a lot of my career, I knew that some worth was through building a company that was sellable. I mean, it's not like when you do that, it's not like you can wake up every day and know that's what you're doing, because if that's what you think about every day, it won't be. So you really have to go to work, and then every once in a while you pick your head up, and I don't know, maybe if it's an annual where you do an annual EBITDA report or something to see where you're at, and then you go back to work, right? It's like, it's really not, it's like the longest game I've ever played, and then it shortens up to 2 years, and then it shortens up and continues to shorten, but still working with them as a senior advisor. It's kind of a little bit humbling, the first word senior, but and now really also focusing on an Urcher apparel brand. But I always say the hardest part about running a company and then selling it is like you basically give yourself a 5-year notice. An employee, which is a luxury, even though they may not see it that way. You can turn out of a parking lot at a company you work for, never to return. And probably, for all you know, your life could get better from that turn. A business owner, their life would actually probably fall apart as they knew it if they did that.
Yeah,
so,
true.
When you turn out the parking lot one day and go, I got to do this, Well, there's 5 years later. Yeah, it was a long journey. I brokered myself, which was I don't think I like pain, but maybe there's some weird part of me that I, again, go back to that underdog. I kind of go into a fight mode in my world a bit. And so I brokered myself, that's probably a podcast in its own. But here we are, and it's been an identity year, and we're approaching 1 year, I guess, at the end of October. And it's a change. No matter what you think it can be and is, it's a bit different. There's one thing I'm very clear about. I definitely am an entrepreneur owner. Forge my paths. I didn't understand. There's two things I say. I didn't understand how important I was in some areas that I could probably impact in a great way. And sometimes you don't understand where that is. And then I thought I was more important in areas that I'm not. We don't, as business owners, I don't think we understand those two angles enough until you're outside looking in glass room concept. The other one was, we have to learn how to work through businesses, or at least understand that it's an entity, not our identity. But it's a fine line. I don't think you could, me as my personality, I don't think I would ever create something that didn't have a strong identity of myself within that brand. But knowing that, I think, is part of it.
Sure.
And you don't know it until you know it, right? That the word of, oh, I hear you. And then, oh, I hear you. It's like, oh, I feel that. I know that today. Because friends of mine used to joke and say, what do you have, Strauser Nature's Helpers on your underwear? Like it's a fashion statement. I'm like, no. And I never really understood that, that there was a serious identity out of that brand, Strauser Nature's Helpers, a lot of it. So, yeah.
It was actually interesting. I did talk about that on the panel discussion recently with Jerry Schill and 3 Point Group with Jeff. And, people don't quite realize just that emotional roller coaster you go through after you sell. Because, regardless of whether you position it for selling, your identity is caught up in it. There's various degrees of ego that goes into it, and if you're the go-to person typically, and suddenly that's taken away from you, definitely really tough.
And I kind of always knew I had a strong personality, ego, we'll call it. And I'd like to think in a good way, ego. I don't think I'm better than people, but I definitely have to think I'm good, because like, who wants to walk around thinking they're not good? It's like, but yeah, it's humbling in so many ways. I mean, it's humbling in ways of, when transfers are done, some people, when that transfer is done that day, is the biggest amount of, personal money flowed through their hands. It all depends how much you invested throughout your career up until, but it's humbling on so many ways. And then you go through a period of like, I invested. I only have one shot in investing. And, when you own a business, you never feel like you have one shot. You're like, everything's possible, right? And you're go, go, go. And then when you start to break things down into these like lines of delineation of like check marks within your life or career, to get real hesitant. Money advisors are saying, well, come on, you got to get more in the stocks. I'm like, no stocks. And
especially if you've got a young family.
Right. And you just start really overthinking some things. But what we don't do probably, I read a great article Rick Clear wrote up in Syracuse that I ended up, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, selling the Brightview. And he did a great article on like how to do better planning post close. And I really think, some of my advice to some people that I've talked to, because they want to pick your brains through the process a bit post, and some other contractors. And I just said, hey, it's really hard for you to understand what I'm saying right now, but you got to remember, you really have to start profiling your life and seeing it as clear as you can, which you won't see clear, but you do need to really visualize your steps of action post close, because just to get across that finish line, I have a picture of myself that I sent to some close people in my career. And it was this at my desk. And I said, we've closed, because it was like 48 hours, things got delayed. And I went to another day, and it was literally like you were like trading. I don't even know what to relate it to, other than like you were waiting for a really big deal to hit, and you were just sat at your desk for days and days and days.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I was in the UK when mine closed, and same thing. It was just a pretty stressful period. Just through that whole due diligence period. Do you think that's the biggest learning when you think back? Would you have done something differently? Is it the post-closing thinking that you've done differently, or is there another big thing that sticks out thinking back?
I get asked that. That's probably a big question. It's a lofty one. The best you could say is, I knew what I knew then. So I don't, I think another question is, do you regret? And I'm like, well, you know what they say about that? That's a slippery slope. Don't ever go there. Get moving forward. So no regrets, obviously. And even in a component of this or that, many topics of where that word regret could fall, right? Whenever that was to approach a difficult conversation, whatever goes on post-close. So no regrets. Do again, absolutely. I think it's do again in a different way, right? Like I have business enterprise building, and I'm starting to profile out the years ahead of me, in the sense, if I put the calendar on average life expectancy, I have some work to do yet, and building more commerce and building more, financial infrastructure and impact. And I've kind of chosen to make an impact in the landscape industry, and not kind of leaving the industry, but bringing back the aspect and the assets to what I'm doing back into the industry. It's all good. It's such a journey. It's, nothing's forever, and you gotta make changes. And, but you do have to know, like post close, you got to know what you're going to do. Like, where are you headed? There is boats that need to be built for you to step onto. You're getting off one boat onto another. And what is that boat? Having a pretty good idea is important, because a lot of people I've heard seem lost. And I definitely went through that. But at the same time, I feel lost at times. I had someone helping me co-founding, building a business in the backdrops. I call it, building the boat, and they're gonna pull up, and I kind of take a trip on that one.
Before I jump into your new venture, just again, you've mentioned entrepreneurs. You talked about journeys, doing things differently. What's your probably biggest piece of advice for people that are thinking about making that leap into their own, starting up their own business, whether it be landscaping or something else, or maybe their early stages of starting a company? I've spoken to a bunch of people recently who are dabbling in both. They're working for a company, but they've also got a little side business, and they're thinking about that jump. But thinking about your journey and having an exit at some point, what's your biggest piece of advice to them?
If we're talking to the person that's not even in the repeat business world or in a sellable business world, is a pretty, uneventful conversation, because they have a whole different load in front of them to be able to start to understand. But if we were, going to talk to someone that was in or a similar boat as me, which would probably be the most effective way to give some tips and tricks, which would be, whether you're 1 million or whether you're 10 million, I don't think it's really, to say just because someone's bigger in revenue means they know their financials well. I think you really have to understand your P&L and balance sheet to the best of your capacity. And you really need to put a team in place that understands that to the best of their capacity alongside of you. So having a team that understands financials and understands that component of a business on a kind of, we'll call it zero-based budget, and on a rolling budget, and weekly reports that match up to that, having watchdogs and some ownership within their P&L throughout their team is really, really important. And listen, if you do that, you're going to start building a really great, solid company all on its own, whether you do a deal this year, 10 years, or through adversity. You can really build some great success, not just for yourself, but for your team, because they could maybe translate into higher level management with the new owners, because they have that acumen behind them. Because let's face it, someone that's buying you probably knows at least their structure of financials better than you knew financials. So the financial component, as big companies get bigger, get more important. The best you can have in financial acumen is going to be the best you're going to fit in the conversation. And then 2 is team, but team kind of coincides with that financial discussion. So if you're not strong in financials in a company, you probably don't have that strong of a team. You may in horticultural space, but you don't in a business acumen. So
know your numbers. Yeah, agree 100%. That's actually a good reminder. We do have a boot camp as our first Wilson T60 boot camp coming up on October 15th and 16th. Zach, I know you're going to be involved in that. We have Greg Crabtree, well-renowned speaker, author of Simple Numbers. We have Steve Steele from our own team. So they will both be doing a workshop on financials and balance sheets and understanding the numbers. So that's a great segue into that.
And to advance on that, do your research on who you are going to work with on that, because I think you can get so far with external help from the industry, but then I think at some point you really have to rally around a proven process within the industry. All financials are the same, but they're not all broken down into different lanes the same. And I think that's really to understand your service lines and your divisions and all that stuff, what rolls up to a total P&L, is really an industry specific thing that you should search out industry specific to be able to break that org chart down of your financials. And then number 2, which I wasn't as strong on, that now is blatantly where my team has started to learn the other side. We knew, but we were in the transition of becoming, I call it more of a selling type, front selling company, meaning we're growing on new growth correctly. And we're also making sure our customers are getting taken care of with upgradable proposals that are always their choice to choose. But we're not doing our job if we're not on the properties presenting upgradable options. And that is a definite component of. So it's financial, and then are you growing at a reasonable clip with, sales developers, and then are your account managers really taking care of their customer and making sure that the right amount of proposals to upgrade their property are in front of them. So that's a component that we weren't as oiled on. And that is definitely an area what we're focusing on now as a team.
So jumping into your new entrepreneurial venture, I know it's still in the green industry. Tell us a little bit what you're involved in now and how that could potentially help business owners in the green industry.
Yeah, so I've always had one of the stackable reasons of doing a deal and kind of questing on a new entrepreneurial space is I've kind of always had this kind of gravitational pull towards hats and jackets and fleeces and sweatshirts and clothing and apparel. So full circle, kind of saved the story of how how it got to where I am today. But ultimately, it's always been a quest of mine. Even before I even started a landscape business, I was offering uniforms and apparel. When I rebranded Strauser, we started having some people, oh, cool hat. I like that patch hat. There were all these little indicators kind of popping up of, wait a second, I'm kind of onto something here. So I decided to start in 1819. I formed out the LLC, Urcher LLC, which the word Urcher stands for urban nature. Trademarked the word, have the word. We're in the process of getting some other words kind of owned under the brand. But basically, what we currently offer is a uniform and outfitting service to landscape and/or outdoor nursery, tree. So green industry focused apparel and outfitting services. Some of our apparel is proprietary and that we're starting to sew and make. And then some we're just getting proven brands and outfitting products that we'll call, as we get better at assessing all the different products, we're going to call it Urcher approved. We're saying humble, but when you do the numbers, it's not that humble, but humbly, we're looking to work for the 1% of the industry. If we do that really well, we'll work for 2 and 3%. But 1% of the industry should make up a $100 to $200 million brand. We're looking to give back a significant amount of our profits back into the industry, to the younger generation, through education and really building the green industry to have a spot, even at the trades level, because I call it like the landscape industry is kind of the underdog to the underdogs. So not only are the trades kind of trying to build some relevancy and how to figure out how to find the workforce, I think landscapers even have a little bit of a stack challenge below that. I feel it's our quest to whatever products and services I sold. If I came up with an idea to make mower seats, I would have did the same quest, right? So the apparel side to me has some background of why, but that's what I've chosen to be the products and services to circle back and give back to the younger generation. One of the coolest things we've done in the last year that really catapulted us faster than I kind of was ready for in a sense, which was the Patch Project, which is a hat campaign where a bunch of contractors have already signed up, nurserymen, even some suppliers and other nonprofits now, signing up to do a custom hat, and $5 for each hat goes to the industry organization of their choice. So whether it's a local school, a state college, a national association, a state association, basically we've raised up to $12,000 already. Next year's goal, we're going to put a stake in the sand at $50,000, and we're going to keep going. I envision helping to form out a training school. Ultimately, a training school for field technicians, I think, is a needed thing. And I'm just going to start talking about it because I don't know if I'll ever get to actually be the one who does it. So if someone else comes up with the idea first, we'll help fund you. So the idea on the Patch Project really is kind of taken off on, supporting the green collar workforce. On the side of the hats, it says green collar. The latest news on that is we put a steering committee together. I won't say the last names because I'll say them wrong sometimes. So Jenny worked up at RM. Now she was at Boss. Stephanie, Cindy from Project Evergreen, Phil Sachs from WIT Advisors, from Carpenter Cost and Landscaping up in Rutland, Vermont. And then myself and Garland, co-founder, we're all basically meeting on a regular basis, building what we call the action committee to making sure the patch project and everything Urcher does in the sense of fundraising. So anytime anyone buys anything off us, a percentage of each garment is going to their choice. I really felt getting a steering committee together to help guide us on that, because running a business is in its own, but then giving back can sometimes be really hard to stay focused on it. That's my big achievement in the last month, I'd say, is getting that committee put together.
No, that's awesome. You're right, because I also do something similar where I'm giving back to the sustainability. But you're right. You easily get distracted if you're so busy at work. Sometimes you take your eye off the ball and make sure you're directing money that way. So to have some type of a committee and accountability there.
Or it could be the opposite. You're so focused on the philanthropy side that you're like, where's Zach? He's out like helping build parks and we're not making any money. So the whole circle needs to happen. We need to be a healthy company to give healthy outcomes on the future workforce. So it's a big thing that kind of will feed each other.
Yeah. Well, and I suppose as well, I mean, just, yes, you've obviously got some great experience with business, but, retail business must be a different, some different understanding there. I mean, it sounds like you've already connected with some good people in the industry just to help you steer that. But, having that great reputation in the industry and what you've done in the past, I think will help you get really well connected within, some great companies.
It's happening, a green industry person, maybe even a little more focused on the white side, snow side, introduced us to one of the largest hat sew shops in the country. So we might be able to start working at getting some American-made hats. There's so many small brands now going after the North Faces, Patagonias, and Carhartts, and making an impact. From some of the studies I'm seeing, some of the small brands are outselling some of the biggest brands in stores right now.
Yeah, I have a good friend who owns Sportique.
Mm-hmm.
And they've mainly do sweatshirts, but just to see how I think they just opened up a store in New York City. They're getting into some of the NBA, the sports. So just cool to see that progress and that impact that he's making in that industry.
And I think a lot of the small brands, if you almost think of streetwear started to open up a whole new world of small brands can make an impact at a pop culture level. And I think that's bleeding into a lot of different segments of the industry, whether it's sportswear, whether it's hiking, skiing. And if you look at our landscape industry right now, some of the guys I talk to, they go 1, 2, 3 million. These guys are to be watched because they're growing fast. They're smarter. They've learned they probably need to hear some of our expertise in some areas, but boy, oh boy. So the small brands are to be watched right now.
Oh, for sure. So Zach, how do people learn more about you, learn more about your products?
Urcher.com, the best way to say it, because everyone goes, is it Urcher? Is it They don't, Urcher, right? And then just take off the N on nurture and you'll get there.com. So Urcher.com, URTURE. That's the best spot. Obviously, I still, have a component at Strauser. So if you got my email there, you can reach out right on the Urcher website, and we'll get right back to you. We're a small company, so we're watching emails pretty diligently.
Awesome. Zach, it's been a real pleasure just hearing about your journey, your transaction last year, your venture into a new entrepreneurial journey this year. I wish you all the best. And
and I appreciate you having me on, and it means a lot for you guys to accept this conversation into the sense of apparel into the landscape.
Yeah, no, and for you guys to be present at our upcoming boot camp, I think is awesome for this. So thank you for your support.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert.
Cool. Okay, well, have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
hopefully that was pure dead brilliant for you today, and you got some great Ironman mindset takeaways for your business or your leadership role. This is Robert Clickybeard. Love to get you, your friends, your employees to join us in our future journey. So please subscribe to your various podcast channels. Visit our website, commerciallandscaper.com or wilson-360.com. You could check out our digital courses. You could check out peer groups, coaching, my book, Ironman Mindset for Entrepreneurs. And we just want you to have a pure, dead, brilliant day. And finally, thanks again to Boss Business Management Software, which is the ultimate cloud-based solution providing comprehensive insights and tools to optimize performance. Join the Boss community today and transform your business so you too can say, my boss is working for me. Cheers, everyone.